Tomorrow they're going to be doing I got them going to go down the guardrail, all that sleep is covered, and we're going to be watching it.
Right? Well, it's going to be.
All right. Because he admitted to it.
Good job today for the second poll.
All right, if you would please stand. For the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a few minutes as we remember our fallen servicemen, as well as our family and friends that have recently passed, especially Shirley Van Zetta, Margaret Monahan, and Mrs. Foos. Excuse me? Senator Logburton as well. Thank you.
Too quick. I go for blood work Thursday morning. Hey.
Good evening, everybody. We'll get right into the agenda. It's a little different today. We're still working on all the kinks. We will begin with in the news of the Highlands. June 7th is a talent show at the intermediate school, and more information on this can be found in the News of Highlands. Cub Scout registration is June 11th at the library from 5:30 to 6:30. Fort Montgomery Fire Ladies Auxiliary will be hosting an open house June 9th, 2 to 4. June 13th, a meeting for all people that want to support the group that is supporting special needs children. There's a 50th class reunion at the end of June, several days. O'Neill is graduating on June 20th, that's a Thursday. Vacation Bible School, it's July 22nd through the 26th at Sacred Heart. And that is some of the items in the news. For those that don't read it, you're missing out. You really need to stay informed. A lot of great things going on in the community. Public comment as concerned to the agenda. No correspondence. Department head reports. Police. The police have been working on grants the past several weeks, as well as policy and procedure to tighten up management within the department. Fire department. If there's no report, just no report.
I got it.
Okay. Come on up.
In the month of May, the department responded to 10 calls, including 1 automatic alarm, 1 smoke investigation, 1 wires down, 1 good intent call, 1 odor investigation, and 4 MVAs. The installation of the new high visibility striping is finished. God. I am requesting permission to take the Chiefs vehicle to the New York State Chiefs Convention on June 15th in Verona, New York, and for the Hudson Valley Volunteer Firemen's Association Convention in West Glens Falls on the 22nd. We're also asking the board to approve the membership of the new member, Kristen Pendergraft.
Water department. Water. No report. Mr. Brown?
I'm pleased to say that the reservoir, 100% capacity, And that's all right.
Sewer?
I don't have anything.
Building department?
I continue to meet with Mr. Hager and Mr. Terwilliger, especially in regards to, lawn maintenance right now. There was a few issues from the last meeting, and some of those have been they've taken effect and are going through the process. But just driving around the neighborhoods, especially on the the main roads, Main Street, Mountain Avenue, it's really important that you try to maintain your property as best you possibly can. If you cannot, best is to call maybe the town building and code enforcement. Maybe we can find somebody relatively cheap that can help you with your lawn maintenance. Because during like the graduation at West Point, it's very important that we try to look the best we can on those big occasion days. So I continue to work with the building and code enforcement department in those regards.
One more thing.
Yeah.
The daily average water conservation is 4,700,000 gallons a day. That'll work. Tank complete. Painters should be on the job first week in June. Water distribution, routine, utility mark outs. Follow up, consumer complaints for high water usage. Working on cleaning our row park, swimming pool, and setting up filter and clarification equipment. That's it for me.
All right. Mayor's report. We'll start off with some fun items that have been dropped off by our historian. Mr. Mellon and I went up to see Stella Bailey this past week and talked about getting more of the history out to the community. We have a phenomenal storage up here of great history and a lot that's out in the community that we want to see preserved. So, we've been talking to Stella about different programs and what we're going to do, and we're also going to highlight some pieces each meeting to let people know that it's actually there. So I haven't read this yet, but I'm just going to read this from Stella. The Town of Highlands Historical Society was founded in 1980 and has been successfully ongoing since that date. Stella Bailey has been president of the society for the same number of years. The mission of the society is to preserve local history. The society holds in preservation for the community many fine and interesting articles of local history and shows many in changing displays. The society still accepts any local history items from the public, depending on the size. Space is limited. Here are examples. An antique ice skate from the 1800s to Grandma's dancing shoes. The society is especially proud of their veterans display board. Started a few newspaper pictures and has grown over 300 local veterans and is still growing. That's this board right here that Stella's put together. And this actually lists, I'm sorry Bob, I'm going to cover Bob up for a minute. This actually lists out all the veterans from the community. And that's something, particularly new veterans, and any families, you want to come up and make sure the veterans are listed, and if they're not, Stella will take care of that. Any local veteran is urged to send or bring in their picture, and it will be added. This is just a board of names, but actually in the Historical Society, just around the corner here, there are boards similar to this size. There's about 8 of them that actually have pictures of veterans all the way back to World War I. Civil War. Civil War. So it's pretty impressive. So if you are a veteran, please take or your veteran's family, please take a minute. Come on up to the Historical Society, and which is located on the 2nd floor of the Village Hall, and make sure that you're in there. If not, bring a picture, because you are part of Highland Falls. Everyone is urged to take some time and visit and see what the society is all about. The open hours are currently 9 to 12, Monday through Wednesday, and by appointment. They also have these nice little brochures. and that is our Historical Society. I would like to thank Colonel Rideout for speaking at our Memorial Day celebration. He did a phenomenal job, and it was a great turnout. I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Also, I'd like to thank those that attended the cyberbullying workshop this past week. It's my understanding it was a phenomenal presentation. The attendance was low, and it's a shame because it was a great presentation, and we need to have this information in the community. So this is one of the reasons why we try to put more things out through this venue, as well as the newspaper and other areas. Again, there's a lot going on in the community. Try to find out so you can get involved. There will be a class for all village employees and board members on June 11th at 9:30 in the Village Hall. This is from the Workman's Comp representative, and these classes are for right to know, workplace violence, sexual harassment, and blood-borne pathogens. These are mandatory classes, and we want to get ours out of the way. Luckily, we do have an instructor on a lot of the classes that are mandatory, and again, saving the taxpayers some money. I'm not going to mention who he is. He's in the back of the room. We will be putting together a safety committee because of our meeting with the Workman's Comp representative. We will be putting together a safety committee that will meet monthly and handle all claims before going to the Workman's Comp board. He feels this will help our program immensely. Again, we did meet with, Mr. Mellon and I met with Stella Bailey and talked about getting more historical memorabilia out to the public. We also discussed many of the festivals and events throughout the year and how we will move forward on building them up. We are looking for groups to take on organizing some of these annual events that go on in the village. For example, the flag raisings, the Memorial Day, 9/11 ceremony, and more. Groups, existing groups like the Rotary, Vision, other groups like that, because the village will always be involved and will always be at the functions, but we're trying to give some of the more ceremonial events to the groups in the town. I would like to thank Mrs. Bailey for all her help on that. West Point graduation was a fantastic event this past week. I want to thank them for the invitation to join them, as well as all the help they gave us that day. O'Neill graduation is coming up on the 20th. Get your maroon and white out. Let's support our graduates. Let's support all the children moving up. 4911 was down this past week during the storm. We are working on it so that that will not happen again. Even with the down wires, there are ways to get around it. I would like to thank our dispatch for working very hard to get that problem solved, and also that Chief Scott will also be making sure that dispatchers are versed in the alert system so that they can send out their alerts as well if the chief is not at the police station. The alert system is very important. Not only is it for specific police matters, but it can also let you know when there's a water break or other issues in the area that may affect you. So if you are not signed up for the alert system, you can check the website on how to sign up or call the Village Hall. And that's it for that. Old business. Old business, we do have one item for old business. It's not on the agenda. It is the numbering of the sidewalks for the Fall Foliage Festival. Marty Burns came to us at a previous meeting, explained what was going to go on, and so that's part of our old business that I'd like to take care of today. She is here if there are any questions. I was not in favor of it when it was first said. Then when Marty explained it, it actually will look very nice and will alleviate a problem that we've had over the years of different groups using, whether it's tape or even spray painting, making marks on the road and sidewalk that are unseemly. Where this process that Marty and her group will take on, I think will actually look very good. So, yes.
I would like to make a motion that we grant the ambulance corps, under the direction of Marty Burns, the ability to get the numbers on the curbs, so we have a durable marking.
Mr. Brown seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Just to let you know, that is at our expense, just to let.
It's a beautiful thing.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
We love that.
We'll always take that. Okay, moving on to new business. Approval of minutes as written, regular meeting, May 20th, 2013. Any questions?
What's that on the course?
Do I have a motion? Mr. Mellon makes the motion, Mr. Brown seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the new fire department member, Christy Pendergraft.
You
So
wanna-
moved.
Before we. make
Are
the-
there any questions?
Yeah, before we make the motion in second, do you want to do the other two dates that he needs the vehicle?
Let's do, that's on the agenda first, so let's do that, and then we'll move on to the dates.
All right,
The
what-
approval of the member. I have a motion by Charlie. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Mellon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There is also a request by the fire department chief for utilizing the vehicle at the New York State Chiefs Convention in Verona, and then again at the Firemen's Association Convention in West Glens Falls. And you were taking that up as a parade type vehicle, or?
In West Glens Falls, yes, it will be used in the parade, and to the convention, it gives us quite a access to money saving at the convention, because a lot of the vendors run convention-specific sales for our equipment.
I don't, explain that for us, John.
The Chiefs Convention is a series of seminars, and also the equivalent of a fire service trade show. A lot of the equipment that we get, we can add, we've actually had vendors in previous years beat their quote at the convention for us. Their actual quote to us for a piece of equipment, because it was on sale special at the convention.
No, I understand why you're going to the convention, and I understand why for West Glen Falls, you want the truck because you're utilizing it in a parade fashion.
Utilize it, yes.
Right. For the one in Verona, my question is, why are we bringing the chief's truck instead of just driving?
Just because it's department business.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, I'll do each one separately. Thank you, John.
Make a motion that the chief be allowed to take the chief's vehicle to the New York State Chiefs Convention on June 15, 2013.
Second?
Second by Charlie. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
I
West Glen?
I also like to make a motion that the chief be allowed to take the chief's vehicle to the West Glens, the Hudson Valley Volunteer Firemen's Association Convention in West Glens Falls, June 22, 2013.
Second?
Second by Charlie Murphy. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes on both? On all three?
Thank you.
Okay. We have an amendment, village water supply agreement with the town. Have you had a chance to look that over? Basically, Bob and I met today, talked about an addition to the project, the ongoing water project. That's what I'm looking at, right, Bob? It's right here, and
There's two amendments, right?
yeah,
We're doing the piping first?
doing the pipe. We're only doing the pipe tonight. The other one we'll do at the next meeting. Once, we met today, the supervisor wants to add an additional piece to the project, which will include the school. The school has agreed to be part of the project and is monetarily, which is great, getting involved. What they need from us is, we need to amend the original contract, because they need to know that they can utilize the PVC piping instead of the metal piping. In the original agreement, it was only for the existing project. So we have, by doing this, We're allowing them to use the same piping that they're using for the rest of the project, continue it for the rest of the additional piece of the project. That's the first one. The second one is the state has allocated 150
We're allowed 150,000.
150,000 gallons
Maximum.
max from the village. Right now, our agreement is for 100 gallons. They are now utilizing approximately 50 on the projects that they're looking at, and possibly moving up to 60 with the additions. But our engineer and the engineer for the water project has suggested that we basically move to match the state's allowable water. The reason we're not moving on this tonight is because we are gonna wait until we have all the numbers and figures from our water department to make sure that the village is gonna be fully covered and it won't be an issue. Initially, we don't think it's gonna be, but we wanna make sure that everything's good to go.
Pat, if I could just mention, you do have.
Jump up and give a little something to grab.
You do have in our original agreement giving us 100,000.
Right.
You have a fail-safe clause in there where if you can't provide it, then we suffer outside the village. And I hate to put it that way, but what you would probably do if we maxed out or something like that, you'd ration it off to us down here during that period of time. So there is a fail-safe in there, even just promising the 150,000.
Right. And the goal right now is, we're not just looking at the water, we're actually looking at the plant itself, making sure that the plant as well as reservoirs are in proper maintenance. Because again, like several other projects, there were several other projects that were slated years ago to be done, and they just were not. So we're working on making sure that our water for the village not only is 100% for the village, but we have enough for the town and any expansions that we're going to go through. It's a multi-year plan that Kevin, the engineer, and Bob and I will be working on to make sure that not only do we have enough, but we have an abundance, so there never will be a problem. There is no problem at this time. We just want to make sure that the town is allotted enough water to do the project that they already have slated. Are there any questions on the piping? I have to read this,
The Fort
unfortunately.
Montgomery School,
Yes.
to feed the Fort Montgomery School, where were you going with that lateral off of Brooks Lane?
Off of Brooks' Lane through your yard out.
That's what I was wondering.
Let's throw it out there.
I talked to him today on the phone, and he said it was okay as long as it met the guidelines of, if it's an R1 there where that piece of property is, that if he wanted to put an addition on the house, it would be in the setback parameters of the right of way,
We'll see that it is.
you know, close to the property line. So he gave me permission, you know, while you're here, I figured I'd pass that
Okay,
on.
great. Very good.
But we'll walk that out, and just make sure that
I'll
we're,
I'll go there
on the
with
same
Tony
page.
and we'll work it out.
okay. How many gallons a day do they anticipate for the school?
What was that today? What was it, 60,000? Something like
The
that.
school,
Yes.
the school and the other several houses.
6,000.
6,000. Yeah, 60,000 would be pushing it.
Yeah.
6,000.
I have to vote no on that one.
Yeah, it'd be a serious move.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thanks,
I have
Bob.
to read this real quick before we can vote. This Fourth Amendment to the Water Supply Agreement is made today, June 3rd, 2013, by and between the Village of Highland Falls, a municipal corporation established pursuant to the laws of the state of New York. The office is located at 303 Main Street, Highland Falls, New York, and the town of Highlands, a municipal corporation established pursuant to the laws of the state of New York on behalf of the town of Highlands Water District Number 1 and the town of Highlands Water District Number 2, special improvement districts established pursuant to the laws of the state of New York, each with offices at 254 Main Street, Highland Falls, New York. Whereas the village and town executed a certain agreement dated November 6, 2003, pursuant to which the village agreed to supply water to properties located outside the village within the districts and to sell such water to the town. The agreement was subsequently amended by a certain amendment to water supply agreement dated June 20th, 2006. And whereas the agreement was subsequently amended by a certain second amendment to water supply agreement dated August 24th, 2009, and whereas the agreement was subsequently amended by a certain third amendment to water supply agreement dated August 2013, 2012. Whereas the town has requested the village waive its requirement for ductile iron piping as the town seeks approval to improve the infrastructure in the districts. Now, therefore, in consideration of the mutual promises, covenants, and considerations herein, parties agree as follows. The village consents, agrees, and permits the town for future work in the district, whether for new construction, repairs, or improvements to the district's infrastructure, to use PVC piping for the water mains rather than ductile iron piping, as it is required by the village's rules and regulations for its water system, and which rules and regulations the town is bound by in accordance with paragraph 11 of the agreement. The town hereby agrees that its obligation to indemnify the hold harmless, the village set forth in paragraph 10 of the agreement, shall include but not be limited to claims, actions, injuries, damages, and costs, including reasonable injury attorney fees and engineering fees, which may arise as a result of the amendment, and an allowance by the village for the PVC piping. The town shall be responsible for and obtain any and all Orange County and New York State approvals required for this amendment. The village shall reasonably cooperate in the timely execution and delivery of such documents as may be required for such approvals. In all other aspects, the terms and conditions of the agreement, First Amendment, Second Amendment, and Third Amendment, shall remain in full force and effect and shall be binding upon the village and town. In witness whereof the parties hereof have set their hands and seal day, first year above written. Real quickly before we vote on that, two things as far as the village. Why? Because we're all one community. But secondly, because we can sell more water and make more money to help out the water plant as well as the whole program. And of course, the main issue, we want to get water as much for Montgomery as possible for our entire community. Also, why the change from the iron to the PVC, just so people understand, it's a cost factor. It is a lot more money to do the iron ductile than it is for the PVC. So we were able to do more of a project, and the PVC is very accepted, and our water plant operator has stated that he has not a problem with it.
Just a point of interest, who inspects the bed as the pipe is laid in there? Because Bob and I were talking earlier about the necessity. PVC pipe is a wonderful material. I used to do advertising for that industry, but it's imperative that it's in a proper bed, so when there are heaves in the ground, it doesn't break.
While they're working, we have an inspector down there from the engineering company. He's there. They don't work unless he's there.
Oh, Todd, is Todd overseeing that?
That's not Todd, it's, I don't know.
Somebody else,
From their firm.
Flaschetti?
That's Flaschetti,
Yeah, okay.
he's working for Flaschetti.
Okay. Kevin, do you know how to prepare in the pipe any different from the wood to metal?
The only difference with that is it's restrained different. The same couplings, it has the same OD as ductile iron.
Right.
It's just your tapping procedures are different. It needs a tracing wire on it. which
Oh, to
we-
pick up
we-
for the sending?
to send it,
Yeah.
so we can trace it. We did recommend that we wanted a heavier wire, and the town agreed with all our wishes and compliances. They understand that, they complied with it and everything.
Okay.
And there is a proper procedure which is followed for the excavation and laying of the pipe under the American Water Works standard for laying plastic pipe. So there is the proper backfill and everything else, and that thrust blocks and restraints. We're just trying to accommodate the town, to keep the cost down, to see if we can get them move a little bit further, and they understand that they're responsible to have the extra supplies and the fittings for that. We used up over here in the village. And they accepted all that, what we agreed on today and everything, so.
Fantastic. Do I have a motion?
You do.
Motion by Charlie, seconded by Jimmy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Move. Jim?
I think we need a roll call for that.
Let's do it. Roll call.
Trustee DeSalvo.
Aye.
Trustee Mallon.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Murphy.
Aye.
Mayor Flynn.
Aye.
Thank you for your cooperation.
No, thank you.
Town appreciates it.
This is what we're trying to do as far as moving forward and becoming one community.
And you're such a nice guy, too.
Approve chemical bids. You have before you the recommendation for awarding chemical bids for the year 2013-2014. Questions? No? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
trustee DeSalvo, seconded by trustee Brown. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moved. Water tank project, approve a change. $30,000 to paint the floor with additional epoxy to protect the welds in the flooring and extend the life of the tank by 15 years. Questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So,
Stand up and meet the people.
let everybody know about the change order. It included is,
Kevin, you gotta come over here, buddy.
Yeah, the people want to know who you are. Let them know.
I want to see your handsome face on there.
Come on now.
to educate the public and the board on this. The change order is to put a thicker coating on the floors and walls to extend the life of the tank, which will give us another 15, 20 years down the road. And the modification to some level transmitters to protect us in future use. If we have a water break or something, to be able to notify us if we're losing a lot of water with that. That improves the change orders with the engineer. We're exceeding the recommendation of so many mills to prolong the life of the tank due to the expense of replacing it. So that's what the change order improves on with the board. And I brought Mr. Mellon and Mr. Brown up there and explained everything to them what we need.
Excellent.
Any further questions?
Any questions for Kevin?
I emailed Todd, he said that he was gonna put a second coat twice as thick, like
Yes.
15 mils or something
Yes.
like that.
And we verify it throughout the tank. After it's done, the thickness, we chart everything down.
Yep.
And that will preserve the life of the tank, which is well worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
Kevin, just a quick question. So, Todd Atkins, our engineer, he was able to talk to Pittsburgh Tank Painting Company
Yes.
and got it knocked down from 44 to 30 and got those two transmitters included?
Also, we didn't pay for remobilization fee. We worked with them, we accommodated them a little earlier. This was supposed to be at the Ford plant.
Right.
So we accommodated them early, getting our work done to move them in here, so we can
That's
offset
great.
another $15,000,
That's great.
so we can get our
Good job.
project
Thank you,
going.
yes.
That was
Please
another
tell Todd, I'll give him a call too, but thank him if he's in.
Any other questions, anybody?
Thanks.
Do I have a motion?
Thank you.
So moved.
Mr. Brown moves, Mr. Salvo seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. We have a motion, can I get a motion for the approval of the bills and claims?
Make a motion to pay the bills and claims.
Mr. Brown makes the motion to pay the bills and claims. Do I have a second?
Second motion.
Second by Mr. Salvo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Moving on to discussion. There's only one item, but I do have several items up for discussion. First item is the parking stickers, something that we brought up in the past. The reason I want to bring it up for discussion now is a lot of people are excited about it, and I want to move forward. The only real decision is cost. What do we want to charge for the stickers? Does everyone understand what we're talking about when I say parking stickers? For those that don't know, we are looking to offer parking stickers for parking along Main Street where the meters are. That would be a yearly sticker so that you wouldn't have to feed the meters. We're looking not only to alleviate some of the expense of emptying the meters, but also that will give us the money up front, and it will be less tickets, less hassle for our police force to deal with parking, we're hoping. It would also be a huge convenience to the people of the community, because they wouldn't have to run out every half hour or whatnot to feed the meter if they're in a meeting or doing something in town. Is there a discussion on this, as far as whether you even want it or not?
Well, it's an interesting concept. Do we know what communities similar to ours have charged and what their success rate was?
I do not.
My only concern is that we do not do an aggressive chalking of tires. And technically, your maximum amount of time in the parking spot's 2 hours.
Correct.
So my only fear is that depending on how many tickets we sell, if it's 500 or 200 or whatever, is there a potential for people to park and kind of be parked there all the time?
Well, that's even happening now, except we are doing tickets periodically, certain days that we're not going out. People are being parked in there now. I agree. Doing this and doing any modification of where we are right now with if we got rid of the meters, went to something else, you would have to do a more aggressive chalking. And bottom line is, that's something we would have to talk, the police department would have to step up, do the chalking. We would also have to get it out to the public. One, we'd have to have signs along the main street, maximum 2-hour parking, let people know so they understood. Yes?
There is a lot of those signs up, and we could probably do a few more. I don't want to pepper the
No.
Main Street with them, but.
No, but just to make sure that people are aware, and again, through the paper, as well as these kind of venues, to make sure the public's educated as to, just having the sticker doesn't give you carte blanche throughout the community. Looking forward, I would like also to utilize the stickers with the public parking in the lots. The lot behind Town Hall is abused. And a lot of people use it not only for overnight, but cars are there. I understand there's a gentleman that has 3 cars in there since over a year and a half, haven't moved. So this is something that, again, with the stickers, we can get into the lots. There could be a sign on the bridge coming in. If you don't during certain hours, if we work with Town Hall, which I'm sure they will, they can get a day parking or utilize the stickers themselves. We want to encourage the use of the stickers, particularly for those lots where we want the workers to park there and stay off Main Street, so that people visiting the businesses will utilize the parking spots on Main Street. I don't want to let this go. It was discussed years ago. We brought it up a little less than a year ago, and it kind of said, Kenny got prices on stickers, moved forward, but really it's going to be up to us as far as cost. Cost, I'll throw some numbers out. Cost can be, and I personally would like to do 2 different costs, because I feel that the taxes that are burdened by this community, there needs to be a bonus for those people that live here. And so for local people, you would have a different cost. For example, $50 for the year for residents, $75 for non-residents. Who are non-residents? Well, there's people coming in that also would help out a lot with the people that are working on West Point, that come in to utilize, whether it's getting food, whether it's getting something from the hardware store. Some of these companies come in 8 times a day. And sometimes they pay, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll get a $10 ticket. Again, this is not a money-making operation. We will bring in money from it, but we were also trying to make it easier for our residents as well as our guests to enjoy our Main Street. Yes?
You would still have the option of using a parking meter?
Yes, you would.
And what would happen in the winter when people are using those lots to get off the street for plowing?
That's a whole other discussion. This is not part of.
It's not part
This
of
is
that.
just the getting the stickers for the parking along Main Street right now. But that's an excellent point.
$50 sounds a little high.
I
shop
idea what
as
it-
much as I can in town, and I wouldn't use $50 worth of quarters in a year. Of course, I walk a lot too, but still.
Well, the thing with that is I've gotten numbers from 50 to 200, and yeah, but here's, if you break it down, you're talking about approximately $4 a month, $1 a week. Really, it's less than $1 a week. Now, if you put, the other thing that I will be proposing is that we move the meters from nickels and dimes to quarters only, and go, 50 cents to $1 for several reasons, and I'll explain that in 1 minute. But with that, now you're talking less than $1 a week. So if you come in twice and you put in 2 quarters each time, it's paid for. and now you don't have to feed the meter. But, along those lines, with the stickers, and with the cost, we may be able to add some bonuses there, like parking in the lot. And if you don't have it, the sticker, you're gonna have to pay for that. Right now, there's no charge. So I'm trying to make sure that we utilize as much parking as possible for businesses in the business district. That's our goal.
So if you buy a sticker, how many hours can someone stay at that particular meter?
Two.
That's
That's the
even
law.
with the sticker.
Yeah,
Yes.
So you can't move to another meter for 2 hours, you move in your car.
you could.
Yeah.
You can.
Do that, yeah.
You can, but the question is,
Yeah.
why are you staying in the village? This is something that, this is more than just a sticker issue. With the businesses, we have to work with the businesses and really work with them about staying off Main Street. There are only so many spots for people to utilize. And that's something else that's a whole nother discussion that we're gonna get into. But as we said, how do you monitor that? Chalking. The police chalk the tires, and if you're there for more than 2 hours, you will still get a ticket. And that's why the signs are up. But again, it's about informing the public, letting everyone know these are the rules. And it's not that much different for the rules that are already in place.
So we don't know any other small town like ours that has this system going with the parking system, because that would be a good example to look at another town.
Right.
Because we want people to come in, not say, shucks, I may get a ticket after 2 hours, forget it, I'll go someplace else.
That's already a rule now.
Yeah.
That's not a new rule. That's still a rule now about parking for 2 hours. So,
I think it might be worth having a conversation with some of the business owners or maybe the
Yeah.
chamber, just to get an idea.
I've actually had a conversation with them, and the 10 to 15 businesses right here along Main Street that I've talked to are actually, 3 of them asked me, when are we doing the stickers? They're excited about it, because they believe that it will help. The bottom line is it doesn't matter whether you have stickers or not, it's the monitoring of Main Street. Whether it's meters, stickers, anything, it's the monitoring. There was another issue that I'll bring up shortly, as far as parking. For those businesses delivering, I would also like to almost go case by case, and make sure that they have somewhere to be other than Main Street to sit all day. Several of them that don't have an area to park off, like West Point Pizza, has that little area to park off of Main Street. So they can pull off and not take up a spot while they're getting their next order, where Lily's of the Valley does not. So we need to try and figure out, one, we don't want to burden them by saying you have to park down one of the lots and carry 6 huge plants, and then park down the lot again, carry 6 huge plants. But if they're not ready to bring them out, they may be sitting in front of their store for a half an hour, the delivery car. So these are things, again, that we want to work with the businesses to say, how can we help you get an off, like by the library for them, for the Sushi King delivery down Brennan's Way, where it's this far, but they're still right next to their store, they're off Main Street. These are things that, when I've talked to the business community along Main Street, these are the questions I'm getting, and they're looking for help.
Who owns the empty area behind Andy's and Lily's? There's a whole parking area.
I believe
The owner of Andy's.
Oh, okay.
John owns that.
Yes.
Good question. Does the village have records of monthly to current and past years, monthly or weekly receipts from meters
Yeah,
that can give you a ballpark?
we
Monthly.
Yeah, we usually get a monthly statement from the police department, what they collected. For
Um,
instance, this month was 5,000, but that was from, I think, 2 months.
So on average, it's about $2,500 a month?
No.
It varies up and down. I just think this last report was a little more than a month, from my understanding.
The money coming in is not even close to that, but then there's also months like December that,
Because of the weather and stuff.
well, no,
It's free.
because it's free.
Right.
So there'll be nothing coming in during that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could go all day, but what I'm gonna do
I
is,
think we're averaging 30,000 a year. I think
What
that'd be
I'm-
a fair number.
what I'm hearing is, we'd like a little more information, possibly some other communities that are doing the program now. I'll bring this back, because I believe it's an important, I think it'll help our, parking along Main Street.
A suggestion for the businesses that have deliveries, maybe we can issue them one parking.
That's what we had talked about,
Yeah.
like the spot on the top of Brennan's Way,
No, not like a designated spot, but they can get issued one parking pass for a certain vehicle that's registered with the police department. For instance, if your delivery vehicle is, happens to be a Chevy van, then that van gets one delivery pass, and that person can park in front of their store.
right, but then we're trying to actually get them not to park in front of the store, that's the thing. There's enough off-roads, they're doing that now, and if they have a regular parking pass, they can park in front of the store. But what we're trying to do is get them off Main Street, which, if on Brennan's Way, we can actually designate one delivery spot, one. And that way, right now, there's only one store down there, right now, there's 2 empty storefronts. So that's something where, again, we'll work with the businesses on that. But the main point is to get the program going with the initial stickers out to the public. But what I'm gonna do is I will investigate, we will look into other communities that have it, and if there are any other questions on this, please feel free to get back.
I've only had my.
Would there be a goal of eliminating the parking meters?
We've talked,
Doesn't happen.
right, we've talked about it, that is still on the table. At this point, the board felt, when it was discussed previously, the board felt that the meters will help keep the flow of traffic going on Main Street. So I personally would like to see us move away from the meters. That's a discussion for future.
Just
Oh, hold on.
Have you considered eliminating the meters and putting in those single meter boxes where people pay for a ticket to put on their car?
It was looked into by Chief Scott. The cost was very high to do for the small area that we have. That's why we kind of moved away. That was one of the initial things we looked at, so we could get rid of the parking meters and still have parking. But according to Chief Scott, when he did the investigation, he was up in the $200,000 range because it's not just getting the box. The company actually has to maintain the program because people are putting in credit cards and debit cards and the whole nine. So it's not like a meter where basically it would take the police somewhat out of the picture, which again would help us financially, but for $200,000, it's a tough program to put to the public. All right, I will follow up on that.
Can I just say a quick-
Yes.
My only concern with comparing this with Cornwall is I think Cornwall probably has 3 to 4 times storefront parking compared to ours. They seem to have, I mean, if you ride through the village of Cornwall, they seem to have more store frontage parking, you know, compared to ours. I mean, they don't, Cold Spring would, yeah, they have a few municipal lots,
They
but
have
Cold
parking
Spring's
lots
tight.
there, too.
Yeah.
Interestingly,
They have
Cold
free
Spring
parking. There is no
is
meters.
talking about going to meters.
Yeah,
Really?
they are, because they have a problem. They have a huge issue down there.
But they keep rolling the people out because of the parking, because of 5-hour, 4-hour limit, because
Yeah.
everybody used to park their cars and hop on the train and go to work in
Oh,
the city
yeah.
to avoid the Metro North fee.
Fee you.
So what they do with that is they have a 4-hour range on parking, and then they ticket them. But there are no meters. I don't know if Joey, they're talking about it?
I think we have heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on, if that's okay. Just 2 or 3 more items for discussion for the board and for the public. I wasn't sure if we brought this up at the last meeting, but we did talk about the hazard mitigation plan. Did we talk about that at the meeting?
Yes.
We did, great. Then we're moving on.
Well, we were going to put an update.
We did not get an update. I just want to make sure we actually brought it up. We have not got an update on that yet. I had met with the Colonel Rideout, and one of the things that I would like to request of him at our next meeting is the application that vendors along our Main Street, any delivery vendors, need to fill out prior to getting to deliver on West Point. Right now, the procedure is vendors here in the community have to fill out a form and be approved to deliver their product on West Point. I believe that we have an opportunity to eliminate this procedure, this application. Some people, well, what's the big deal? Sometimes the application's not processed for months. So if a business starts up, particularly a food business, they can't deliver to West Point for several months before they're approved. I believe the time is right to go and ask for the lifting of this application. It obviously came when all the security came to West Point, but that's actually becoming a lot less. They're lowering the security throughout the years, and they're looking to try and decrease it over several years. But that's why I bring it up for an item of discussion. I don't think there would be a problem with the board members to write this up and approach West Point about it. Is any discussion?
So the lawn is security, what do you mean it's a lawn, backing off or what?
Yes, that's the goal. That's the goal. Are they backing off? There's still the same amount of people there, but the goal is over the years to reduce the security force and bring it back down to where, prior to an open post. And we're not talking months, we're talking years. But that's their goal. Okay, so I'm going to put that together and approach West Point about that. Before we finish with discussion, Lori Totel from James Scuba's office is here, and
I had been asked by a constituent of the village to look into the matter. I know I was
I want to make sure.
I had been asked to look into the matter of the senior center and the grant funding that was put in for us several months ago. What I last heard last week, and I spoke to you about it at the Memorial Day celebration, that it was still a viable project as far as the county was concerned. The only thing that was stopping it was the fact that the money was being held up with sequestration. As of Friday afternoon, and I found out around 3:30 this afternoon after I spoke to you, they had been told the money has been released from the federal government. The application process can continue moving forward, and the village can continue with this viable project to help the senior citizens of this community. And so Ms. Lucas is pleased that that is happening here in the community. We also have 2 small grants that were applied to through the assembly to help furnish the building. We're waiting on final approval from them from the assembly.
so just to surmise, the money is on the way. It's not here, so it is on the way. And that, when it comes, again, we'll give you another update. Thank you very much.
It's just, as I spoke to the coordinator for community development, he said all you have to do is, like, he spoke to the county and to the village clerk, just continue, there's more
Exactly.
paperwork to fill out and so on and so forth. It's not dead, it's alive, it's well, and the money is coming.
It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you, God.
All right. Lastly, for discussion, Trustee DeSalvo brought up the lawns. I am a firm believer in a tidy community. So I am going to push for fines, and also if you are cited for lawns that the grass is way too high and you do not comply, that the village will take care of your lawn for you, and then that bill will be given to you. So I just want to put it out to the community. I don't want to be that guy, but please take care of your lawns, not for just one event, but for everyone in the community. We deserve it. Each person here deserves to be able to go down the street and enjoy a beautiful community, because those are people that are always working on their property shouldn't have to go 3 doors down and think that they're somewhere else. So please, the grass is growing, please take care of it. And that goes for all your yard waste. One recommendation that we are, I am considering to bring to the board is the use of the bags, the paper bags, for yard waste. People are using plastic bags, you still have to purchase them, so we're looking to purchase the paper bags because, one, it's more sightly, but two, it is a much better. It's much better for the crew that's picking it up, because for those that put it in the plastic bags, those all have to be opened and dumped and handled, and it takes much more work and effort, thus taking effort away from the other projects they can be doing. Whereas the bags, say from the local hardware stores or Home Depot or whatever, you put in that's tossed in, they're biodegradable, they can be just tossed right to the dump. They don't have to be emptied out, they don't have to be dealt with. So that's another thing we're looking into, again, saving us money through less workforce, but also to keep the, even when you put the bags out, the paper bags look much nicer compared to 5 or 6 plastic bags piled on top of one another. So just a thought, if you want to be proactive, please start moving to the paper bags.
Will the town, will the village, give bags out like they do in some developments? They give you so many bags for a season, say 6 or something like that. Will they do that?
That's a beautiful thing developments do, I think that's great. Thank you for those developments.
Do they give them out?
No, they don't give them.
Oh, so you're trying to act like they did, like
Give
you were
them out in
getting.
other parts of
Oh,
Westchester.
okay. Oh, well, Westchester, you know. So Landon will come on.
We'll get a hold of Westchester and see if they have some extras for us. Mr. Brown?
I'm supposed to private neatness, but how we gonna get around the, going on private property? If that's the case, we have to go and do around.
I think the only way we can do that, just not to jump, but yeah, it's a process in order for us to get on their property, to go through the wall.
There's a set process, it's already in place. It's not something that we have to invent. It's being done in other communities right now. And that's something we are gonna move towards, because we can't, and we're not talking hundreds of people, we're talking a few people that will let it go, and everybody has to suffer, and it shouldn't be like that.
I agree.
Last thing, in the news, I just wanted to, normally we bring up businesses and not-for-profit groups at each meeting. I would like to say that for those people that are interested in what Vision has been doing over the years, they did take out a small ad in the last paper to explain the many things that they have accomplished and are involved in this community. This is an excellent group, but like many groups in our community, it is an aging group. We need the 20, 30, 40, and 50-year-olds to start getting more involved and join existing organizations. And I am making a plea also for the American Legion. We have a lot of veterans in this community. There are not a lot of requirements, but there are a lot of benefits you can get from being a member not only of the American Legion, but Vision, these other communities or other groups, let alone the socialization, which will bring our community closer together, the accomplishments of the group itself. So for those younger families, for those younger people in our community, please start to look at we only have a handful of existing organizations in our community. If you would like to get involved and you don't know how, come to the Village Hall and we'll let you know.
Vision,
Okay.
Pat, Vision's
Yes.
having an open meeting to start the season. Tomorrow night at 7 at the library. It's open to everyone who wants to come, ask questions, or maybe join the club.
Okay, for those that didn't catch that, Vision is having an opening meeting tomorrow at the library at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow at the library, 7 o'clock, Vision's having an open meeting to let you know what Vision does, and also if anyone's interested in joining. Food and refreshments will be provided. Public comment.
Refreshments.
Just refreshments? Come on, better than that. Any public comment? Yes. No, Mr. Devereaux. Just automatically raising your hand. Ms. Elwood.
Hi. Just wanted to ask why you voted no.
Wait, come on up here.
Martha Allward. Just wanted to know why you voted no on the open air project, just for clarification. I wasn't at that meeting because of the work schedule. So I'm just kind of curious. On the open air project.
Okay, I voted no because, not because of the project. I think the open air event is a great event, and I think we need more of those in our community. For those that don't know about the open air event, again, it's in the paper. The reason I voted no was not because of the event, but because the paperwork that I had requested from the organization was not given to me in a timely fashion. Also, the group that is sponsoring it, the LDC, is not registered with the state LDC, so I am concerned. The last project the LDC was involved with, there was problems and improprieties that I am not going to discuss here in an open meeting, but so I had issues with the fact that I was not getting the information I was asking for to justify the group's use. And that is, I feel that is our right, and that we need to be looking out for the community, so that a group isn't just coming in, using our village for their own purpose and walking away. We're looking for, again, other organizations to do the proper paperwork, do what they need to do, and we'd love everyone to utilize the village one. Thank you. Yes, Charlotte?
Well, I'm not out of line jumping ahead of members of the public, but it seemed appropriate to say that the event this past weekend for the Friends of the Library to raise money in support of the library was a wonderful example of the community coming together. Not only did the village police ensure that we had access to a municipal parking lot, the DPW, which laughingly calls the upper part of Webb Lane the Forgotten Road, served no man's land between the brook and West Point. They came through and cut down the sumac trees, so the entrance to the venue for the fundraiser was just exquisite. We honored two neighbors, Julie DeWitt, who has been a trustee for 25 years. She was head of our local bank, now the Waukegan Valley, Jimmy DeSalvo's bank.
Not my bank.
Well,
Not yet.
Under Julie's supervision of the bank parking lot often was made available to the school for car washes for the kids to raise money. So we were very pleased to honor her. And then also Bill Higgins received the Written Word Award for his poetry. He's a former trustee and former police chief here. We can honestly call him the poet detective of Highland Falls. I hope someday soon perhaps, that we might declare him the poet laureate of the village of Highland Falls. Senator Larkin and Assemblyman Skoufis participated in the ceremony honoring these two individuals. A record 208 people RSVP'd to the event, and 150 people showed up. So it was a great success, and we're hoping to give a large check to the library to do some capital improvements and also to support the core curriculum for the school. I've gone on way too long, but it was just a heartwarming thing to see so many people embrace the library as really a focal point in this community and also have a good time at a party.
I'd like to thank Charlie Murphy for organizing that for the library. It was a phenomenal event, more than the day ever expected.
And to open up your house so warmly to everybody.
There's like 20 people still there.
They didn't leave.
Mr. Devereaux,
Go ahead, Christine.
please, because you look so good.
Pat, you mentioned West Point's graduation recently. I'd like to just comment that on the 1st of July, the incoming class of 2013, will be upon us. Probably 2, 3, 4 days ahead of time with a lot of the families in the area. So I just think that we should do everything we can in the town, in the village, to make them feel welcome, with signage or whatever. So, that's my point.
That's a good point, and I'd like to actually throw something out about that. You did put something in the paper, and I'm going to have to take you up on it slightly. We talked about this last year, with the only signage that was up in Cornwall for the graduates and nothing here. I did, with the election and everything happening so quickly, a little overwhelmed, but we did get a hold of West Point and a few people and said, look, what can we do to make the village more welcoming? It came on us quickly this year, but as with the other festivals and whatnot, what I am going to do is reach out to Vision, but also to the West Point Women's Club. It's a very organized group of ladies that do a lot of great work there. Combine those two groups for this specific event on what can we do to make the village more welcoming to the graduates and all their families. And at the same time, of course, we hit Vision up again for O'Neill's graduation, which is great.
Did Vision do the R Day reception?
Yes.
Right, so basically, it's right up their alley. It's a beautiful thing.
I don't think it would be a bad idea for the village to buy a nice classy, a banner that we could maybe hang up on Main Street, and as they come in,
Well said.
you know.
That's what we're going to be going to Vision for, because they got money. Tell you what.
No, but it might even be good if we had one.
Right, well, no, what we're trying to do is actually, well, we had banners and stuff before, and now we paid for them, and now they're gone. So I don't want to invest again and lose these things. So I am looking for a group to, again, take it on. So not that they would incur all the costs, but they would help us organize for the event.
It's in process.
It's a beautiful thing, thank you. Any other comments? Yes?
All right, well, you stole my thunder on the Vision thing, because I'm on the board of Vision, and I was going to talk about that, but thank you for addressing that. And we're sorry we didn't make it. My husband got called to work, so we hope you saved us leftovers. But the three things I wanted to address. First of all, Four Paws Humane Society is another one of our local organizations. They trap, neuter, spay, release, help feed, adopt out kittens, cats, sick animals, various, strays, and they also help with dogs in the community. They're being collected by the warden. So right now they have a lot of cats and kittens for adoption. There's a very, very limited space. If you don't know, it's out of Dr. Beeman's residence right now, and so once it gets full, then it's becomes really difficult to help additional people that may need help. A lot of people that volunteer for Four Paws actually take the animals then into their homes, but there's a small number of people working for the organization, so if you want to adopt an animal, or if you know someone who does, you can contact Dr. Beeman, and she has all that information. In discussing derelict properties, obviously you know the one that we're talking about. It's ongoing, and so I just wanted to know very briefly, and you don't have to talk about it now, but if there's any progress on that, if you could, get with us, that would be great. The park that has been recently refurbished on Center Street is a beautiful little park now. Unfortunately, there seems to be some discrepancy about the hours of operation of the park. We are having to call the police nightly when it's pitch black to shut it down. There's 20 to 30 people in there. And just by way of an example, this is an issue because 2 days ago, there was a man teaching his toddlers, and when I'm talking about toddlers, they're just learning to walk toddlers, how to say the F word. And he's in the park, a park full of people, broad daylight, telling his kid to say the F word over and over and over and over again, and then a bunch of other swears with that. And I'm sitting on my porch listening to this. I was debating whether to call child care services or the police, and when you have a father doing that with his children, you don't really know where you stand legally. So We've been calling the police to get the park cleared out at a certain time. The park is posted dusk to dawn. Dusk to me is when it's starting to get dark out, not when it's pitch black at 9:18 or 9:30 or 10 o'clock. So I think that's a policing issue, and I think it needs to be made clear, because when I talk to one group of dispatchers, they're like, no, it's definitely dusk to dawn. When I talk to another group of dispatchers, it's, they're sending the police officer to close the park down now, and it's 9 whatever at night, and it's way past when it should have been, stopped. So those are just a couple things that I wanted to address.
I want to thank you for keeping a visual eye on that park. It's not easy, and a lot of people, whether it's Roe Park, Pickens, or any of the other fields in the area, a lot of people just turn a blind eye, so thank you very much for your constant eye on that. I do think possibly, I will discuss with the police and the DPW, I think a gate might help, and the police will be in charge of closing the gate at dusk. We need to make sure that it's a park for small children. It's not a park for the bigger children can go to Roe Park or other areas. It was not built for that. The equipment in there is not for larger children. So dusk is the appropriate time. So I think a gate and a little more police presence might help. Thank you very much.
Is that posted?
It is posted dusk to dawn.
Over the gate is that they jump over the wall.
But that'll make it hard for them to get out. Yes.
I attended the bullying conference up at the high school. I'm suggesting to the village that perhaps you start having some lectures for parents. I'd like to see that woman come back into the town to talk to young adolescents about bullying from their spouses, about dating. There's a lot of violence in dating, which leads, again, to domestic violence. I think the library could be used so parents to go around and hear someone talk about drug abuse, alcohol abuse, what are the signs of it, how do we help kids who are involved in that. It would be nice to see where parents feel comfortable to be going into a place like the library and have some lectures pertaining to some of the issues facing them. Domestic violence is up. We know economically it's tough right now. The research is very clear on that. It's also very clear that high school kids who are dating are also going through some bullying, verbal and physical. So I'd like to see the village at least look at that, see if we can start doing something like that for people.
Where was that girl? That you said it wasn't all attended?
The high school library, Mr. Elwood?
Yeah.
Where was it?
So maybe-
No, middle school.
Middle school.
Yeah, the
So maybe
intermediate
the
school.
library might be.
Yeah, there was six people, only 6 people showed up.
One parent.
And that was at the last 10 minutes. Now,
That's actually an excellent suggestion.
At Angels over here in the school, Sacred Heart, we're going to be working with parents with special needs children next week. But that can also be done down here too. Bring in a social worker, bring in a therapist, talk to parents about what they're facing having special needs kids. And we do have a high population. We have a lot of kids from this community going to BOCES for services. Sometimes parents can't get to BOCES for those services. It'd be nice to have them at the library to talk about, working with special needs kids. Okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other public comment?
Sal Paduccia. I was unable to make the Memorial Day ceremony, and it's been rumored that there were supposed to be a group of young drummers to perform in the ceremony, and they refused to do so. Can you explain if that's true?
The youth drum corps that's been performing for the last several years on several different events, whether it's 4th of July, Memorial Day, the car show, a lot of different areas. They did show at Memorial Day. Unfortunately, the leader wasn't able to get a hold of the person organizing Memorial Day to get on the program. It was my understanding that they were going to be able to play at the end, but then they had said no, they're not part of the program. They did play, because when kids you can't do that to kids. Great group, phenomenal group, very excited, and they're very excited about doing more events in the community. What I like most about the group is that you don't have that in other communities. You don't have a youth drum corps. And Herman Wright, who's in charge of that group, does a great job with that. But there were several different, issues that day. One of them, and just to let those people know, it was well attended. I had a lot of people come up to me afterwards complaining about the sound and the fact that Colonel Rideout had a great speech, but nobody more than 5 feet away from him knew. And just to let you know, we are looking into a new sound system for events, whether it be at Memorial Park or other areas in the village. We are also looking to revamp our activity request form because there's not enough information on it. For example, with the sound, it asks, "Are you using sound equipment?" And the answer, and then it's a yes or no. Not, "Are we providing it?" It's because a lot of groups provide their own, but then out of nowhere, all of a sudden you have to provide it. So there is some work being done on that. But as far as Memorial Day, those were the two main things that came back to me, was the sound, but also the fact that Lori was up there with me, and we were happy that that the children were able to play at the end, because we had to make it happen. But yeah, it was taken care of. But.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the community? Any other board comments? Charlie?
I think I spouted out.
Excellent. And that is, and we'll always have board comments at the end, but that's one of the reasons for the agenda, is to bring better definition to whether it's a report, whether it's something that has to be moved on, whether it's an announcement or discussion, and that's what we're trying to do with the new agenda. Mr. Brown? Nope? Mr. Mellon?
Police contracts, we're trying to firm up a date when we can actually sit down and email and dates back and forth, and none of them seem to meet either schedule, so I'm sure we'll come to terms sometime this week for a late June meeting, I would hope. So we'll take it from there.
Jim?
I was actually just gonna ask about the PD contract on that DPW, so about the dates.
I haven't done anything in the DPW, but the police were I
It's
believe-
hard schedule, just get dates.
Well, we gave them dates, and we gave them 3 different dates, and none of them were good. So he sent me back a couple, and then Charlie has some concerns on one of them, and I think that I do also. So we'll try the third time, sit down and discuss, when we call meet, and we'll take it from there.
I talked to DPW, yep,
Good.
and we're also going to be doing the department head. We're negotiating the department,
Contracts,
all kind of contracts, so that's actually going on right now. I'm looking through those before we set a date. Yeah, I am. No other comment? Excellent, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I need a motion to move into executive session. So moved by Mr. Brown,
Second.
second by Mr. Mellon,
I just have to say about it.
for employee purposes. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you again for coming, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the night.
What's that?
Come on.